Sometimes the soul forgets how to ask. Sometimes the words run dry, and all that's left is a sigh, a breath that rises from the deepest part of the heart and floats like unseen incense to heaven. If you are here, if your eyes are reading these words, it's because something inside you still believes that not all is lost, believes that a miracle is waiting, believes that somewhere between your cry and God's silence, there is an answer. Today, I invite you to pray, not from urgency, but from the quiet faith that knows Saint Anthony hears, intercedes, and is never late. Close your eyes, breathe, and let your heart begin to speak.
O glorious Saint Anthony, I come before you with trembling hands and a soul worn thin by longing. There are no perfect words left in me. There are no eloquent phrases or carefully arranged petitions. All that remains is raw need, the kind that shakes the heart, that floods the eyes, that wakes me in the middle of the night. I come not as someone who knows how to pray well, but as someone who cannot afford not to. My heart cannot hold the weight any longer, and so I fall into the arms of heaven through you, Saint of miracles, Saint of urgent needs, Saint who never turns away the broken. You who found what others thought was lost forever, who restored the unreachable, who brought light into places of despair. I ask you now to find me in this hour of desperation. Find me in this storm that threatens to drown all hope. Find me where I've been abandoned by every solution, where doors have closed, where time has run out, where every attempt has failed. You know what it is to be sought in urgency, to be called upon in moments when human help can do no more. That is this moment for me. I have whispered this request 1,000 times, sometimes with faith, sometimes with fear. I have knelt in quiet rooms, cried in hidden corners, looked up to the sky as if an answer might fall with the wind. And still, the need remains. Still, the weight presses. Still, I wait. I do not ask for luxury. I do not seek abundance. I ask for the miracle that restores what should have never been broken, that opens the path where there is none, that brings life where only dust remains. Saint Anthony, I believe in your compassion, not because I was told, but because my soul recognizes something in you that feels close. You were not distant. You were not untouched by suffering. You lived among the poor, walked with the lost, preached to the weary, lifted the forgotten. Your holiness was not one of separation, but of divine closeness. And it is that closeness I call on now. Be near to me, Saint Anthony. Stand beside me. Bring heaven near through your intercession. I have done all I can. I have spoken, written, pleaded, surrendered. I have waded past the limit of what I thought was possible, and now I stand at the edge of what remains of my strength. I am not ashamed to say that I need help. I need heaven to act. I need you to act. I need the mercy that breaks natural law, the grace that interrupts the cycle of pain, the intervention that comes when no other door will open. I do not need explanations. I need presence. I need to know that I am not praying into emptiness, that this cry is being carried to the throne by hands that know how to knock on heaven's door. Let my prayer cling to your robes. Let it rise through your voice. Let it pass through the veil that separates earth from the divine, and let it echo in the courts of God. And if there is anything in me that still doubts, still resists, still closes off, help me let it go. Saint Anthony, this request is not casual. It is not a fleeting desire or a wish whispered once and forgotten. This is the kind of request that lives in my chest like a heartbeat. It is with me in every breath. It follows me into sleep and greets me when I rise. It is not something I can walk away from. It is embedded in my spirit, and so I place it now in yours.
You who were chosen to hold the Christ child in your arms, hold this request with that same tenderness. You who preached the gospel with a fire that could not be silenced, speak now with that same urgency for me. You who walked among those whose hope had long since died, breathe new life into this need that I now lay at your feet. I know the odds. I know the impossibilities. I know the limitations of this world. But I also know what happens when heaven decides to move. I know that when God acts, no wall can stand, no timeline is too late, no wound is too deep, no loss is too final. That is why I turn to you, Saint Anthony, not because I deserve it, but because I trust your mercy more than I fear my circumstances. Intercede for me in this moment. Speak my name before the Lord. Speak it with urgency, with clarity, with the love that you carry for all who call on you. I need a miracle that goes beyond logic, beyond systems, beyond what I or anyone else can produce. I need divine intervention. I need what only God can give and what only you can help carry into being. Let this request not go unanswered. Let it not vanish into the silence. Let it be met by the full force of God's compassion. Let it come swiftly, if it is His will. Let it come powerfully, unmistakably, with the kind of peace that settles everything it touches. Let it be more than I imagined. Let it restore my hope, renew my heart, and re-anchor my soul in the truth that miracles still happen. And even as I wait, Saint Anthony, I ask for something more. Not only the miracle itself, but the faith to stand until it comes, the strength to trust, even when nothing around me changes, the humility to surrender the how and the when, while holding firmly to the belief that the what, the miracle itself, is already in motion. Give me eyes to see not just the need, but the divine hand that is already moving through it. Let nothing steal my belief, not time, not doubt, not fear. Let this be the moment where something shifts, not just around me, but within me. Let me become someone who no longer prays out of panic, but from a place of deep relationship with the God who hears. Let my faith, even if trembling, be enough for heaven to move. Let your intercession, Saint Anthony, be the key that unlocks the impossible. I am not looking for signs, I am looking for presence. I am not looking for ease, I am looking for truth. I am not seeking comfort, I am seeking a miracle, yes, but one that transforms me as much as it changes my situation. Let this not just be an answered prayer, but a holy encounter. One that redefines how I walk, how I speak, how I live, how I love. O gentle saint, take this moment, wrap it in your care, present it to God with the urgency that lives in my bones, and as you do, let the heavens begin to shift. Let what seemed forever closed begin to tremble at the touch of your voice. Let what was lost return. Let what was dying revive. Let what was impossible unfold. I do not pray this lightly. I do not pray this casually. I pray it with everything that remains in me, and I trust that it will not return void.
O Saint Anthony, compassionate guardian of the desperate, I return to this prayer not because I am strong, but because I refuse to let go of the promise buried deep within my soul. The silence stretches on, the hours pass without answer, and yet I am still here. I am still praying. I am still waiting. And I am still believing that the very God who called you to carry his light across the earth has now appointed you to carry my plea into the divine chambers of mercy. I must confess, this waiting tests everything in me. It uncovers my doubts. It exposes my fears. It reveals the cracks in the walls I built to protect my hope. And yet, Saint Anthony, I see now that even this uncomfortable stillness is a kind of sacred space, a place where faith is not loud but deep, where miracles are not shouted into being but whispered through trust, where I learn not only how to ask, but how to surrender. You walked among the suffering, among those whose hope had been extinguished by years of longing. You looked into their faces and saw the unseen, the dignity, the pain, the desperate flicker of belief. And in that sacred seeing, miracles were born. I ask you now to look upon me with that same gaze, not with pity, but with holy solidarity. See the part of me that still kneels, still clings to the edge of belief, still prays even with trembling lips. There are things I don't understand. Why answers delay? Why the miracle doesn't come when it's most needed? Why some prayers seem to fade into silence? But through your example, I begin to see that the most powerful kind of prayer is not the one that changes everything around me. It's the one that changes everything inside me. I ask now not only for my miracle, but for the strength to become the kind of soul that miracles are drawn to. A soul anchored not in outcomes, but in God's presence. A soul that is no longer tossed by delay, but rooted in divine timing. A soul that remains soft, even in the hardness of waiting. That is the kind of faith I long to live, and you, Saint Anthony, are the teacher I need. Intercede for me then, not only as a messenger, but as a guide. Walk with me through these uncertain days. Help me to silence the noise of my own fears. Teach me how to dwell in the stillness without letting despair take root. Help me recognize that even now heaven is not far, that even now the seeds of something divine are growing beneath the soil of my circumstances. If the miracle I've asked for is being delayed for a purpose, let me learn what I must learn. If it is being shaped in ways I cannot yet perceive, let me remain patient. If it is being protected until the perfect time, let me trust that divine hands are holding it safely. Do not let me give up too soon.
Do not let me turn away in weariness. Let me stay present, stay open, stay reverent. Let this be the waiting that leads to wonder. Saint Anthony, too often I've confused silence with abandonment, but through your example I am beginning to see that silence can also be a holy pause, a breath between what was and what will be, a sacred waiting room where God prepares not just the miracle, but the heart that will receive it. And so I surrender again, not in defeat, but in faith. I surrender the timing. I surrender the details. I surrender the outcome. I surrender the weight.
And in return, I ask for what only you can help provide: the quiet courage to keep going, the resilient spirit to rise again, the clarity to recognize the small mercies hidden in my everyday life, the peace to accept what I cannot control, the grace to wait well. Saint Anthony, remind me that even now I am not forgotten, that even now heaven is active, that even now love is moving. Let your voice rise with mine in the invisible places. Let your heart hold my request with a tenderness that invites miracles. Let your presence remind me that I am not praying into the void, but into the arms of a God who sees me, knows me, and is working even in what I cannot see. Let my soul be still but not passive. Let it be rooted but not resigned. Let it be faithful even when the world offers no signs. And when the doubts creep in, when the fears whisper louder than hope, place your hand upon my heart, Saint Anthony. Still the chaos, silence the confusion. Remind me of who I am and whose I am. This is not just a prayer, it is a declaration that I will not abandon my hope, that I will not be defined by the delay, that I will wait with the dignity of one who knows that God is never late. And when the miracle finally arrives, as I still believe it will, let me meet it with the humility of one who has been softened by surrender. Let this season be transformed, not into bitterness, but into beauty. Let the memory of this time not haunt me, but humble me. Let it become a part of the testimony I one day share with trembling joy. I waited, and heaven moved. So stay with me, Saint Anthony. Do not leave me in this in-between. Walk with me every day until the miracle meets me on the road of faith. Let your light be a lamp in my darkness. Let your love be a covering when I feel exposed. Let your prayers be the wings that carry mine higher than I could ever reach alone. I do not ask this lightly. I ask with everything that remains in me, and I trust that even now, heaven is listening, because you, beloved saint, are speaking.
O dearest Saint Anthony, as I reach the final words of this prayer, I find that what began as a desperate plea has now become something sacred, something transformed. I am not the same soul who began this prayer trembling in fear. Though my miracle has not yet come into my hands, I can feel it approaching my heart. I can sense heaven moving. I can feel the veil between despair and hope growing thin, almost translucent. The atmosphere around me has changed, not because my circumstances have shifted, but because I have. And for that, I thank you. Your presence has been more than a comfort, it has been an anchor.
You have stood at the threshold of heaven for me, not merely as a messenger, but as a companion in the storm. You have carried my words in hands that know the weight of holy urgency. You have whispered my name in the ears of angels. You have knelt before the throne of God on my behalf when my own knees were too weak to carry me there. And now, because of your intercession, I am able to lift my face again, to breathe deeper, to hope harder. This is not the end of my prayer. It is the beginning of a new posture, one of openness, one of surrender, one of unwavering expectation that the miracle I have asked for is already unfolding in ways I cannot yet see. Perhaps not in the exact form I imagined, perhaps not through the channels I anticipated, but with the unmistakable mark of heaven upon it. I no longer feel alone in my request. I feel surrounded by divine presence, by unseen armies of grace, by the love of saints and angels, by the mercy of God that never runs dry. I have discovered that prayer is not just about receiving, it is about becoming. And through this long journey of asking, I have become more than a person in need. I have become a person of faith. Saint Anthony, let my heart never forget this place. Let me never forget the ache that brought me here, nor the tenderness that met me in that ache. Let me never forget the beauty found in the waiting. Let me carry the memory of this season as sacred soil from which my miracle bloomed. And even if it takes longer still, even if there are more tears, more nights, more moments of silence, let me meet them not with fear, but with the quiet confidence of one who knows the outcome belongs to God. Let my life be the canvas where heaven paints its answer. Let every moment from this day forward be touched by the faith I have rediscovered. Let this miracle, when it comes, be a beginning, not an end, a starting point for new devotion, new gratitude, new joy. Let it be the evidence that trust is never in vain, that waiting is never wasted, that no cry goes unheard and no heart that turns to God remains unchanged. Saint Anthony, I ask now for one final gift, peace. Not the peace that comes from having all the answers, but the peace that passes understanding, the peace that wraps around me like a cloak and remains even when things remain unresolved, the peace that lives in the soul even when the world outside is still uncertain. Let that peace be my companion as I continue to wait, as I continue to believe, as I continue to trust that heaven is not only hearing, but acting.
The moment where the impossible bowed to divine timing. The day where hope refused to die. Amen.